Assalamu alaikum, everyone. This is Mr. Wright, and today is the 5th of July 2023. This is Mr. Wright, and I am again in, I think it's Torremolinos. I might be completely mispronouncing it, but it's a suburb of Malanga, Spain, as I mentioned yesterday in my video. And this is like a mint tea and lemon. It's a very, I'm sorry, not tea, but this is actually water. But in Morocco, they always have mint tea. So when I came here, and I actually a hotel lobby area, I needed some water because it's so scorching hot outside. I decided to get some water with a little mint, a little lemon. It's very good for you. And enjoy. They have put maintenance. Okay, so I would like to talk about something that is very important and something that needs to definitely be discussed because it has gotten out of hand. And it's rumors about myself and women that has not been proven by any medical research, any doctor's appointment, any type of, anything to back it up. It's just people making rumors, coming together to slander another person, and think that that's enough to act on medical fraud. And this is regarding myself and also some of the women in my family as well, who has passed away, and then some of the women that are still, living. But mainly, it's, having to do with some of the women that passed away within my family. Their wombs were attacked. A woman's womb is her. First, let me give you a little history about myself, Miriam, the prophetess of Allah, and how the scriptures was revealed. And it was something that the Most High, through the prophet, which they call him the Ra, the soul, and they talk about the prophet Isa, where the scriptures, through a command that he's fed, I became pregnant, and when pregnated, which is Miriam, the story inside the Quran, and the scriptures as well, was blown into me and through the womb. And there's a light that is within me that I have. And this is not only something that is acknowledged in the Islamic faith, but also other faiths as well, acknowledge the chastity of Miriam and how she received the scriptures, and also the birth of her child. I'm clarifying what happened by making it clear that the prophet Isa, which they call Jesus, was my husband. The baby that was born was the prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and I am his wife, Miriam. And when I say Miriam from the past, meaning Miriam of the Quran, of the Bible that you read, the same Miriam that is in both books is to come back to the earth, the same way you see the story of Jesus or Isa to return to the earth. I'm already here. So rebirth into the earth. In the Quran, it speaks about the immortality that the Most High blessed me with. out of all the messengers. So there's a lot of other um, beautiful things that was blessed upon me as a messenger and a prophetess of Allah. I have a womb. I'm a woman. I'm not a man. in no stretch of the imagination or form. So I want to make that very, very clear. And what has happened is because of that beauty, the light and the blessedness of who I am, I've had people that try to denigrate my character, and not only my character but my womb, as an attack against me, because you can't really physically see anyone's womb unless they're, have it out for people to do that, and that's just not part of the laws anywhere. So, that people can just go and see it. So, the only thing that one can do is to denigrate someone's personal womb or their private part, is to do it by saying it through a smell, a scent. And that is something that cannot be proven. That can only be a bunch of people who can just say something. And if you have people who are involved in degrading the woman in the womb and are against a certain tribe of people that's on the earth, then it's quite simple for that to occur. Or their attack against that particular person, and they can't do it from a physical level, then they just make up lies. And this is, kind of one of the things that women in general have to be very conscientious about, because, the protection in her chastity is very important, and protecting her womb and her personal body, her private parts. So to have people speak about me and make up rumors and say that I have a smell, and to the point where they've gone as far as acting as if there's a need for medical attention behind it, when they are lying outright. And the very people who are making these allegations will find when my trust is being my trust that I have not received any wealth or benefits from, is still, expenditures are still coming out of it. But the ones who are benefiting from it, I find, are the people, the common people, are being able to access it through the trustees and go into stores and purchase things and run up an account that leads back to my wealth. And because of that reason, the people have participated in using methods to attack me, and this is one of them. There's been others in the past, but this is one of them. And this really has to do with, who I am as Miriam, and who I'm telling the people who I am, to kind of say, no, she couldn't be. This is one of the factors that they've tried to use in order to make that determination, when there's never been any medical procedure done. There's never been any doctor, nurse, clinic, nothing. It's just been rumors. Rumors among people that's been benefiting, that have something to gain. And rumors among people who have already expressed their dislike for me. Not honest people who are taking an honest approach, but people who have already, some people have even, waged wars and, done things that were hostile towards me, whether it's trying to use dogs to attack me, or being outright racist or discriminatory. They've tried everything to discredit me and who I am, because it's understood that the person who will get the, the book and be able to read the Quran, and the Moroccans call it the Quran, but we call it the Quran in English and Arabic as well, is none but one who is pure and clean. And it's not so much that you clean up your room when you're at home or your house. It's one who is spiritually pure and clean, in and out. And in the Muslim faith, that is a part of the faith. When we deal with everything from our daily prayers, we are constantly, making a wudu and going to the bathroom. We make something called a stinja, which is, removing all like the excess waste from our bodies using water. And sometimes people use soap and water, but whatever it may be. And then before we go into prayer, we're washing our arms, rinsing out our mouth, putting water over our heads and our hands and our feet. Our faith is about being purified and clean, and then we're worshiping. When a woman is have a menstrual cycle, when that has completed, she cleans her whole body in a particular way that is important to the faith in terms of making sure everything is cleansed. Having a particular, not having over like long nails that would is something that we do not promote because of the unsanitariness of it. So the faith in itself is clean, in its purification, and you're praying to your Creator, who's that's purifying you spiritually, but you also physically and spiritually maintaining yourself and keeping clean. And it's very much true. Cleanliness is close to godliness, so it is important for that. So when I hear people, make outlandish and defamatory allegations about my personal private areas that they have not seen, they have not even been close to, nor have any medical doctor, nurse, or anyone, and just start circulating lies, then I know that it is very, very serious. One of the things that happened with my family members, a story, one of them, I talked about the La Negros of, I think it's Bona of Spain. I think it was Bona, how they took his private parts and put them on this, part of them on display, and then the other parts they taxidermied and had them sitting inside a museum in Spain, put a piece of a animal's, a tiger's mane across his body, and gave him a spear and had him sitting in a museum, and he was actually a king. Whereas in France, you saw Venus Hottentotten, which was the Zauditu, really the queen, the empress, and people know her as the Empress of Ethiopia. She was again lied about who she was, because they didn't want to say what they actually did to the queen. Taxidermied her body, took out her brain, her vagina, and put it on display inside of a jar, and had her sitting in a museum. Both of them lived during the same period of time, in the 1930s. Their bodies went missing. And this is exactly what happened to their bodies. That is my family. Now, I have also my mother, who is my mother who passed away. I later found out that her body was donated, and there were things that were done and taken from her. So there's a lot of, things that happen in terms of atrocities and to my family. And there is a fascination around the woman's womb. So for the Venus Hottentotten, they used her womb to try to her actual vagina and placed it in a jar, cut it out, and started to examine it and say, well, this looks like an animal, and this looks like this, and this don't look like that, and it's odd. And after they mutilated it and killed her, this is what they did. Skinned her like she was an animal, and then tried to go through, I think it's called Darwin's, I have to go to the actual research. I think it's like Darwin's theory or something like that, to try to tie her to a lineage of apes and a certain type of people, to discredit who she was historically. Her lineage, her going back to the messengers and the prophets. You had people who were now changing history and starting to identify and whitewash history and saying that they're truly the people. And they did this to discredit who she was, but they couldn't outright say, we did this to the queen. So they said that she was just someone, a Khoikhoi woman from some town, and left her unidentified, and said she had a lot of wealth, and she freed the slaves, and she did all of these different. She had a lot of wealth, and then they said that Zauditu had done a lot of things, like freed the slave and did a couple of other things, but the lady Venus Hottentotten, which was Zauditu, in fact, was said to have a wealth, and it was wealth that was held inside of some kind of estate, and they said that they didn't know who she belonged to. So what they did was they just took her wealth. Her children was placed in the United States, while her body was placed in France, and they acted as if she didn't belong to anyone, and they didn't know who she was, after they more than went to war and abducted her and took her body, and did what they did to her. If you take somebody, you take somebody from a land and pull them, kidnap them away from their family, away from their land, who is going to claim you? Because you've been kidnapped. And this is what they did. They murdered her and mutilated her and made a fictitious story about Venus Hottentotten to cover up the murder of her. But more importantly, they used her vagina, to not only sexualize it, but to talk about it. And so I shared the lineage of she was my great-great-grandmother. I share that lineage, but they haven't stopped in their attacks against my family and the women of my family. And this is one of the methods that's been used. So all of a sudden, at the age of 46, I have people who I don't know, who I've never met. I don't have any personal relationships with these people, not even as far as sitting in the same room or dealing with them. And no personal relationship as far as husband or anything, who's just making outlandish lies about me based on being able to benefit from the money that's illegally being released to them, so they can take from it, which is my trust. That's the incentive behind them telling the lies, But the more so is the fact that they don't know me. But this is something that can't be proven, because if somebody just do like this, ooh, people just automatically believe that there must be something wrong, because you can't actually identify that there's a defect. You can only, it's only by scent. And if people are lying about a scent, then who is to say who's telling the truth and who's lying? So it's one of those things where you have to just be there to know the truth. And that's one of the dilemmas, because even my family members have turned to, in order to get access to their wealth, to a certain type, to accept some of the atrocities and things that occurred against my other family members, and have not spoken out about it. And I just expressed to you that one of my family members that was very much involved in trying to bring justice to some of the things that occurred to my mother and my family members recently, have very much changed the position of how she, dealt with the whole scenario, and didn't make me aware of it. And they have had access to something that I didn't even know she was having access to. So it's just been that kind of scenario where we will give you something, you just have to be quiet, and then we attack who is going to stand up against us and speak out against what we've done to you, or what we've been doing, or how we've been taking from you guys wealth and benefiting off of it. And this is what we're going to do to you. We're in plenty and many, and you're just a few, a family. And this has been the bullying that my family has endured in order to have access to what's theirs. And I just wanted to speak on it because I found that not only in Morocco did the people act in such a horrible way towards me using this lie, but now in Spain, where the money trail is here too, you can open up the trust and see what's been released to these people. And you'll find their motive behind why they're making the same lies. Because if somebody had that kind of wealth, there's no way in the world they would be in a situation where they don't have if someone was really caring for them or take any concern and was being in just, dealing with them in a just manner, it wouldn't be possible for something like that to occur. And another thing is that the attack has also been that they've lied and said that I was a male transitioning to a female, because there was actually a person of Caucasian descent who was posing as a woman, who was a transgender, who took my identity and was signing off on documents claiming that she was Nasura Wright. Really, it was a he. And what happened is that the very people who are making these claims, they are actually not even women who have wombs. They're males who's dressed up as women, who's trying and attempting and who have stolen the identity of my family members. And then my family members are, when they are go to the process of if they're passed away, the medical records are falsified and said that it was a male that passed away to hide who they were. And then, or they're using some kind of Darwin's theory to say that they were something other than who they are. And then, or they use another lie in saying that they were people of color. They were a whole nother color. They were, I'm sorry, Caucasian, white, or another color. They was not the Bani Israel. They only use technology to tell that lie as well. So there's a lot of things, but the people who see you face to face understands the truth. So there's no reason in the world. They can see the crown, they can see who I am, they can see my family as they are. It's only how someone is being portrayed that they've been able to get away with this. The false portrayal of how they're being able to cover themselves and pretend like they're somebody that they're not, whitewashing history and changing the faces of it with a whole new people that does not have that lineage. They're not the Bani Israel, and they do not share the history. But the wealth is being spent out amongst them, my family's wealth, and my wealth, while I'm went through the court system and haven't had one penny given to me or shown to me to show what it is that I have in my name that I was born with. So this is the injustice. I'm touching on it because I'm seeing that it has gone too far. I recently went to a restroom in this area, and when I left the restroom, a girl was coming in bringing some kind of paper or something. I caught her because I had to go back in and get something out of the bathroom that I left in the bathroom, and in one of the stalls by mistake, and it was just my actual my little wallet or whatever. And as I went back inside of there, she was putting something really, really, really fishy and smelly inside the bathroom. And she was using something to, put it in the garbage and other places to make the bathroom smell. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just terrible. You're going to manufacture a situation. So that means that you're well aware of what you're doing. You're conscious of what's going on, and you're involved to that level of trying to make a lie that you would put something in the bathroom after and turn around and say, it was me. When I happened to catch them, and it was a Caucasian lady, two ladies in the bathroom, and I just I was thinking that maybe it was just, first I thought it was just them, and then I saw what they were putting in there because they kind of got caught doing it, and I'm like, is they doing that to try to say that was me because I came out of the bathroom after them? Before them? And I just wanted to kind of point that out of, the stupidity that's happening, that's occurring. Mind you, there's been no medical, no gynecologist, no nurse, no doctor, nothing has seen me or dealt with me. But these kind of allegations, just off of rumors, can happen. And this is happening to someone that has wealth. Just off of lies. So it's important that I do speak about it, because if I continue to stay silent, it's like their words and what they're lying about, is the truth. And when I refute it with saying something about what is happening, then now there has to be, a scenario where people are really looking into what's going on. But as long as I didn't say anything, I'm dealing with extremes that I just witnessed, the other day in one of the women's bathroom stalls. It's like, bathroom. I was like, what is going on? But I did want to say that, to just let women know who have wombs that there's an attack against the womb of women. And even some women has not even been identified on legal records in the United States as women. And I don't understand why that would be. Because the Most High make it clear what his creation is. And he said he doesn't share his legislation with anyone. And he make it clear that he made women and he made man. And he gives inheritance to, that when you deal with inheritance, the men have a percentage more because they're the provider over the woman. So there's varying laws surrounded around the inheritance, the rights of women, and the rights of men. So you don't mix them up, and it's very, very clear. And so when someone tries to perpetrate and say that I'm a gender that I'm not, then it's very serious, because I'm the prophetess of Allah, Miriam. There was only one woman with a womb who had birthed a child. And to try and change that and say it was a male is doing a complete injustice, not only to the history of who I am and what happened in Isa last night, my husband, and how everything occurred, which was a miracle and a light and a sign for the people, and the birth of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and who his parents was, is doing an injustice completely. And so it's definitely something that needs to be talked about, because it's unacceptable that people can even, perpetrate such a lie. And again, who I am is evident. When you want to understand the genetics of a male and a female, or the birth parents of a male and a female, you can find out that information. So if someone is saying that they're Miriam and they're really a male, anyone can just do the genetics. Any one of these financial institutions, or anyone who's seeking access to a trust or wealth of someone else's, can find out if this person is truly, in fact, that person. You can't just perpetrate it just because you're Caucasian or you're just a certain race or a certain people. There has to be some due diligence of investigation. It was actually some years back when my sister wrote a letter, and it was actually to the company J.P. Morgan and Chase, and she asked for her records, and she said her name, was Khalifa Whitmer, and she married in Kojba. And when she said her name, they said that she's not the proper party of interest. But the actual person who was pretending and identifying themselves as her was a male who was a transgender, who was actually a female. I'm sorry, who was actually a male who was transgender as a female. If that company would have done any due diligence to get the records and history of the person, they would have found out that person had to have, breast implants. If they, going full-fledged, they had to have surgery to remove certain things. If they decided to remove certain things, they had grown up, certain male. There's things that males have that's physically different and genetically. Male have, secrete the life source of sperm from them, and women has a womb. There are certain things that are separate and different. If you want to find out the biological father of a person, you can go right from that very life source is where you find who is the actual father, through that genetic line. You don't, and if the woman, you find out who birthed, the birth mother. So it's through the genetic line. The makeup is very different. How can people who do not share in any possible way that the womb or do not have a womb can sit back, go inside of a bank, go inside of a court, go inside any of these places and say, this is who I am. Stealing another person's full identity. And the banks and none of these people even check the medical records and find out that this was really Joe Jackson or whatever or Kenneth when they was born, or there was a boy when there was a male child when they was born. Only just of recently they've tried to, give people different names and titles and say that they're a girl and when they're really a male. But my sister is I'm 46 and my sister is like, 47, 48? So by the time, during the time that they were born, it was very well aware of who was actually being birthed into the world, whether it was a male child or a female child. And when you ask for that information, when you're signing certified documents dealing with the royal family, you're getting real documents and information that's real. You're not just getting no okie-doke paper and claiming royalty status and being a family and living off that wealth. You have to have real documents. So the question is that if their physicality was not what it was, how did they get away with it? If they did not fit the description at all, not just the physical description, but medically and genetically, how did they get away with taking wealth all these years? There was no due diligence. There was nobody who looked into that. And then if you go back further, it's even made even more clear what can a birth or a child that was born into the world. So it was just a flat out lie that these financial institutions and these banks and the parliament, the British Parliament and the royal, among the royal lines and the royal family just ignored and allowed it to happen because somebody was Caucasian and said, this is who I am and this is what I want. That's all that it took. Because if anybody looked, they would have found out that. So, this is Nisra Wright. I want to address that because now it's 46 years later of other people claiming things that they have no right to. And they have no way of explaining how they were having that access when they don't even fit the description in no type of way. And these banks and these financial institutions have to explain how that occurred. Why didn't they check their birth records? Why didn't they really see what was going on? So, again, this is Nisra Wright. I'm dealing with this issue right now because it's very, very relevant to what's happening at the present moment. And I wanted to just kind of bring that out to the public, so they can be aware of the situation and seeing how, a woman, have rights in her womb. The women who have wombs, they have rights. And that is something that I've been denied a basic right of who I am. And with all the wealth that I have, that basic ABC should have been investigated by human rights attorneys, by regular attorneys, by banks, by financial institutions, by family members, by everyone who are involved, by the imperial family, the courts that govern the royal family or deal with the royal family issues. Anyone who's involved should have did that amount of research, and they would have uncovered the truth. I'm walking, living truth, and someone is not, but they're able to walk and get access inside of the palace with the wrong identity completely. How can that be? And that's my question. That's the real question here. So again, this is Nasura. I'll update you guys, and I just want to say peace out. I'll let you know more about what's happening, and I wanted to share that with you. So, my salams.